Okay, okay. Did you see the message? So I know we're recording.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, so let's just go. I think there were a few more people who are gonna show up, but you know. So the agenda, I'll find it. There. Okay. So I added a couple of things because Kay has her list that she worked on. And Cindy was going to be here and talk about her contacts with the Denver Press Club in a meeting for September. We'll see if she's up. Okay. So the first thing, did you guys want to? We all know each other, so I don't think we need to go around. And I got a message from Celeste Landry, and she said she just doesn't have the bandwidth to keep coming to the meetings, but I feel like she's kind of a good resource if we have questions about procedure, because she's done concurrence before. So if we have any questions along the way. But anyway, so would you like to go through and read the position again, or do you have any additional? What I feel like is we could make a list of our comments about the position if there's any changes we want. Then we could write to the Washington League, send them an invitation and say, these are our questions. So we won't kind of blindside them, but we really would like to give them a list of questions ahead of time, but invite them to a Zoom meetings to discuss them rather than discuss it by email. How does that sound to you guys?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, okay. So let's go over because did you all have time to read the position, the PDF and stuff? The position and their report. I did.
I got most of the way through the report. I got to 100 and something. I don't remember what yesterday. And then I have too much other stuff with the state league. So,
Yeah.
But I got a good sense of it. I'm so impressed with how much work they did.
Oh, man.
That's the first, report like that I've ever read. And you can see the time that they put in on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did the interviews and stuff. It was just amazing, all the interviews they did. I mean, this wasn't just computer research. They really went out and talked to experts.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's go over the position again. You want to read it? Should I read it again? Or are you confident enough that you know do you want to read it again?
Yeah, just read it again. It's,
Okay.
here's
The
something.
League of Women Voters of Washington believes it is the responsibility of the government to provide support for conditions under which credible local journalism can survive and thrive. The League of Women Voters of Washington defines local news as accurate, in-depth coverage of government entities, including but not limited to city councils, county boards of commissioners, health departments, schools, and school boards. Okay, so in that paragraph, I think there was Sonia, she's not here, but she had a question about the choice of the word credible. She wanted to know why they chose that word. So I think we should, I don't know what I prefer to just say, why did you choose to use credible instead of verifiable, or what? Do you think that's okay?
Yeah, because credible, if you go back to the Latin root, it means believable.
Right.
you can have something that's off.
Right. And then they use credible here, but they use accurate here. So
Yeah.
I just wonder what their reasoning was for that word.
Well, and I think that woman from UNC, North Carolina, what was her name? Penelope Muse McCarthy or something like that. I think she used reliable in her stuff. She was the one, I think, who might have already, who came up with the idea of the news deserts, but they relied quite a bit on her national study. I
Mhm.
think it was published in 22, maybe. But, you know, in reading that position, and we talked about Beth Hendricks, was it just now, talked about our courts. And do you think that's reflected here? Because I was a court reporter once upon a time, and there's lots of stuff that happens there. Do you see that reflected anywhere?
Well, I think because they say government entities, including but not limited to, that
Mm.
they're not limiting it to that.
Yeah,
And I think too, I mean, I don't know how it works, but I imagine all of these departments are the same way, but I mean, even how judges are picked varies from state to state, and I don't know. I'm sure that's not why it wasn't put in there. They just said, you know, it's not limited to these. So if you wanted to include courts and judges in there, I don't know.
I think we could probably keep adding to the list too. So I think it's more efficient to say, but not limited to.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm thinking, where's the, well, not limited could cover the world, right? And it also gives emphasis to those things. And if you, whether or not you'd want to emphasize the courts more. I mean, it is, you know, that third branch of our government.
It's not all the world though. It's local journalism. So it's defined in the one above as local. So I think
Well, yeah, that's the point. I mean, it does cover everything, or the local news, but you know, I don't see that reflected here as far as local, you know, like our in other words, is that something we would want to emphasize, or maybe just ask them, do you feel like the courts are covered here? Because there's a lot happens in the courts. Locally, your county, and I'll defer to Dixie.
No, it's okay.
Next.
So, and I'm not gonna argue, I would leave it this way, but I think it's interesting that they limit it to governmental entities, because one of the things we've been talking about, I thought, that local news helps with is the sense of community. And that's where you do the reports on the high school kids and all kinds of other local things that aren't just government. But for the purposes of what the league is doing, I can see why they say government, because that's, so I'm not going to argue with them, but I do think it's interesting because if I were to say, how would you define local news? I would say things that bring a community together, including government, including what's happening to individual people, projects. I mean, all kinds of things that are going on in your local community that make you a community, government being a big part of that. But I can see why they're doing that for this project. It just strikes me as a little bit odd.
But wasn't that in the report? They had how you create community within the report. I want to say it's around page 70 something, 80 something, around in there in the report.
That it says that local news creates community.
Yes.
Well,
That's
yeah,
exactly what
I
it was
knew I
about.
read it in quite a few places, but which is why I think it's interesting that it's only government that they're specifying here. I mean, and if they're saying in their report that, like I said, at some point, I mean, you can nitpick everything, so I would not argue with them. I just found that to be an interesting
Well,
disconnect.
it might be part when they talk about the ethnic newspapers, and frankly, I don't know any offhand, but that's kind of building community.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think a league position for impact on issues has to be what we can affect by legislation. It's got to be a government issue, and
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like I would let that go, but building community in a broader sense would mean something different. But this is fine. For, like you said, for what league is doing. This is very related to league things, so.
I'm curious to why they use schools and school boards. See, they don't break down anything else there. Well, maybe health departments does, because that's kind of under the state and county sort of, but they broke it down a little bit. Maybe that's where your sports and whatever come in, but I don't think that's what they intended.
Yeah,
But maybe it's because the school boards are the governmental entity of the schools, but they're
Mhm.
also saying principals and other things that happen in the schools might be, I don't know.
yeah. And then this is Washington, so I don't know, like city councils, county boards of commissioners, that sounds the same to me, but in Washington, their setup is different, so
Maybe.
I
I
don't know.
would ask why they did schools and school boards. Because to me, that kind of breaks out a part of it. Well, I mean, if I was breaking out city council, I'd break out the planning commission too. But, it's always easier to criticize than
I
it
think,
is.
yeah, I think we ought to be careful about that. I think it's so easy to get every word and everything. And if we're going to start this way, I don't know it's going to be very well received, I'll tell you.
I kind of agree, yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
I think that is, I mean, you could say things like the health department, well, what about driver's license? What about this? What about that? And I just think, where that's going to come in is on all the support stuff.
yeah, but not limited to,
If
they,
you want to
such
meet
a.
with them, you need something to talk about.
Mhm.
Well, we could just say you're fabulous, we love it.
We don't want to do all that work.
No,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, so are we good with that one? We can go on?
Mhm.
Okay. The league supports credible and ethical local journalism in whatever format it is published as essential to our democracy.
Can I ask them about reliable?
Yeah.
I would, because credible is kind of, what do you believe?
Well, okay, well,
Exactly.
that's mentioned up there, so I think we can.
Mhm.
We've got credible, so we'll go, that's on our list.
Yeah, you might want to just note that it's in line 1 too,
Mhm.
that it's in 2 places.
Right,
So
okay,
essentially, what was the rationale behind choosing that particular word?
right, I
And
think
that's a
that,
good way to do it.
Mhm.
yeah, that's what Sonia, I think, had, she wanted, because she said credible doesn't mean anything to her. I'm not gonna say that to them, but I think we could just say, why did you pick credible instead of reliable or verifiable? Or up there, they also use accurate, so we could just ask them that. Okay, so then the League of Women Voters of Washington supports efforts to ensure everyone has access to information necessary for casting an informed ballot. And that credible local news sources are integral to this pursuit. Now, is that the one that was the syntax was off?
Yes, believe. I think we put, they said, and believe that credible.
Okay, so we'll ask them about that. Supports efforts. Okay, believes. Okay,
And notice we have credible again in this one.
right, yeah, they use it a lot,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's worth asking about because it is showing up in more than one place.
yeah. Yeah,
And I don't think we're saying, we might think that we don't like it, but basically we're saying, if someone asks us, how do we defend it?
yeah, that's the point. I mean, and they may have a really good reason for using credible, but I'd like to know what it is.
Right.
Well, and I think the way you said it earlier is the idea of, can you help us understand the difference between why you use credible rather than reliable, verifiable, or accurate?
Right,
And I think that just gives them a chance to, then you're just saying which one, because if we want to be able to explain it to our people too.
Right.
right. Okay. Boop, boop. Okay, we're on 3 now. The League of Women Voters of Washington believes that support for the viability of local news may take a variety of forms. Control of the content must remain exclusively with the news organizations. I'm good with that one.
I don't think any of us said anything before about that. I'm looking back at our former notes.
Okay. Okay, the next one, the League of Women Voters of Washington also believes media literacy and news education, including support for journalism students, is essential. I think that should be our essential. That, I just think that's another grammar thing they didn't catch. These opportunities should be expanded in schools and throughout communities.
Yeah, that's definitely plural.
Yeah, that's it. I thought so.
Yeah.
And so did Kathy Mark. So, okay, and the League of Women Voters of Washington believes that everyone should have access to comprehensive, credible local news. There's credible again.
Yep.
That barriers to access should be removed. These barriers include, but are not limited to, geography, economic status, and education. And this is where we wanted to ask about language, right?
Language. Yep. That just jumps out at you,
What
or
is
at me
that?
at least,
What
that
jumps
language
out
should
at
be
us?
there.
Pardon me?
That just jumps out at me, that language should be there, you know?
Oh,
They
oh,
include
at the bottom,
those eth-
economic
yeah.
status. Oh, okay.
They include those ethnic newspapers in their studies, so I'm
Yeah.
surprised they didn't mention it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being a translator, sometimes I wonder about I mean, I think language obviously is really important, but it's also very expensive. And I was thinking about, we don't want to impose conditions that will make it, we're trying to make it better for local news,
Mhm.
not more difficult, but. And Jory, she's not here, but she sent me a newsletter that is from I think it's public access TV or digital access, something like that. And said that the government requires, what's that called, closed captioning. It requires that they use closed captioning. And it's expensive. And many of these public access television stations are either not complying or they're just closing because they can't afford to meet the standards they've set. So, okay, are you guys good with that for an invitation and list these things and say, these are our questions, but we'd really like to meet in person to discuss them?
Mhm.
Does that sound good?
Yeah,
I
Yes.
have one question about that. Do we know what's involved in changing, even if it's grammatical? How much work would it take to change an is to an are? I mean, is it worth getting them upset about it if it's going to be hugely difficult to change? I mean,
I think it's worth
people
asking
get the
them.
point, but I don't know. That's all I'm asking. If it's not hard, great. But if it's going to be a huge hassle to get it revised, I'm not sure it's worth upsetting them over that little bit of grammar. You guys did bad grammar. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
well, I
pretty
wouldn't
basic,
put
though.
it that
Well,
way.
it is, but I'm just saying, it's kind of comes back to, is it are we worried about the detail or the real substance of what we're getting at? And like I said, if it's easy, it's fine. And we could just say, we maybe could word it that way. You know, we just noticed this. If it's easy for us to fix, we might, but if not, people get the idea. I mean, maybe we could word it something like that. We just don't want it to feel like, oh, we're all upset about your grammar. It's like, well, we're not really, because you did such a great job on content.
Yeah, and
My opinion.
honestly, when we go to, if we get concurrence, this position would be reviewed by the US board, and it would put those, I'm thinking those corrections would probably be made somewhere. I mean, it's,
Yeah, probably. I just don't know. Yeah.
I think
I
it's
mean-
worth asking. It's an easy thing. It's you know, and we only have two things basically, right? We have the word credible that we're asking about so that we can justify, and then one verb. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
lightweight. You know?
Two grammar things. Well, the other one was we felt put in believes and are. You know, someone said that on number 2,
Okay.
but it's just two grammar things. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's like,
that's minor. Yeah. And I don't, to me, I wouldn't be insulted by that. You know, I always, for anything important that I write, I have my husband read it. He's a fabulous proofreader. He picks up on stuff like that. So you always need another set of eyes, you know. to
Yeah,
see
you
stuff.
do. And I read this thing 5 times before I saw that R should be, that it should be R. So it's not like it really is an insult, I don't
Yeah.
think. But maybe I should put the grammar changes at the bottom of the list and the questions about why you
Yeah.
choose. We're just curious why you
thinking-
chose credible
Mhm.
and why you didn't include language. And by the way, do you think maybe this could be changed or not, or if it's a big deal, then
Right.
Okay, I like that, to make it a little less.
Yeah.
Right, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like less picking on it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, if you ask the substantive things first, I don't know, okay. All righty. So are we good with that agenda item? You guys feel good about that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, let's see, what I'll do is I'll create an email and I will run it by you before I send it out, okay?
Sure.
Okay. And then, it's probably good if I copy Beth on the email. And if anybody else here wants to be copied on the email, that's fine. I don't know how you feel about getting 500 emails a day. 501 won't make any big difference, right? Diana doesn't want it. Okay. Okay. All right. So the next thing is, where is it? Okay. The next thing, oh, that letter I wrote to the board. Did you guys have time to read that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay, is there anything you want to change in that? Did it make sense to you?
There was something that
I-
jumped out.
Okay.
Oh,
I
I
tried
couldn't-
to include all they had that little list of things. Do we already have a position? No. And is this position sufficiently general? I thought so. And is it a government issue and is there pressing advocacy needs? That's why I listed all the legislation that has been recent. So do you want to read it or do you want to just tell me what you don't like about it, which one changed? Kathy?
I can just, the one thing that jumped out at me that I could see possibly being questioned. I could not remember if positions that Nell took on federal bills, did we get clearance? Did the task force get clearance
Well,
from Washington, from US?
no, and I didn't mean to state that we got clearance, it's just that we discussed it, but and I think I did submit that form that you recommended, and
That's
then
what I thought.
it went away, and I think it's because the bill died. So,
You might, in there, you might just make mention that you submitted that form. Okay,
okay, I'll put, for now, I'll just put form was submitted, and then I'll figure out a better way to say it.
yeah,
Okay.
and I wouldn't even say that they didn't respond, just put you submitted the form for the task force.
Okay. Dixie?
I have sort of a general question. I read through it. I thought it looked really good, but what I felt was sort of missing was a very clear statement of what we want from state or what is the purpose of this email. Like either at the beginning or somewhere toward the end, what exactly do we want state to do? And I know you kind of addressed that at the end, but maybe at the beginning, it's like the purpose of this email is to give you some background information because we are requesting that you will agree with a position that we would like to have. I mean, whatever. something so it's very clear, why am I reading this email and getting all this information? That was one thing I felt might make it a little bit easier for people that are super busy to understand what is this all about.
Mhm. Yep, good suggestion. Thank you,
Okay.
as the people who would get this letter.
Okay, so maybe I should move this second paragraph up to the beginning, and before I say now recommends, just say the reason for this letter is that now is recommending. How about that? Does that,
That would be great, I think.
Yep.
Yes.
okay, okay. So we'll move that up there. Okay, anything else?
So does everybody know what Jedi is? As in Star Wars?
No.
That's a,
not here,
that's
not
a
this-
League of Women Voters of Colorado term for DEI. Okay, it's a state term for DEI.
Okay,
Okay.
DEI.
Do you want me to
Yes.
spell that
Justice.
out?
The justice is added to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's what the J is.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was either.
Yeah.
Should I spell it out then, you think?
Well, I would suggest it.
Okay,
Never hurts. You know, it never hurts.
That's
okay,
it. Now, that way, if you use it again, yes, that's the way you do it in a newspaper story. You'd assume nobody knows what you're talking about.
That's how you do it in a dissertation. That's how you do it in
Right,
research writing.
right,
That's how you.
So let me come back to what I commented. Can you scroll back down to that first paragraph? Because really, what we want from the state, because if I were the state, I'm like, okay, you want a national concurrence. Why are you talking to me? Why am I reading this letter? So the reason for this email is that NAL is recommending a national concurrence, and we wanted to make you aware of what we're doing. Something like that, because I'd still be back like, okay, why am I reading this? I'm a state board member and you want a national concurrence.
And maybe say that we're at the beginning of this process. You know,
But the main point is to keep the board aware of what we're
Yeah.
doing, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, it's like, this is an FYI.
right. And if you say we're at the beginning of the process, then it's not like, hey, we did all this, surprise.
Yeah, yeah.
okay, so, reason for this email is now is recommended, okay, that.
Maybe I would say something like, the reason for this email is to keep you informed about a process that we are just starting.
Yes.
And that we are just starting, period. Our group is recommending a national concurrence, something like that, something along those lines.
Yep.
Because I mean, that's the first thing I always want to know. Why am I reading this? Because that I kind of read with that purpose in mind as I'm looking through it. It's like, are you going to want me to make a decision? That's a different reading style than unfortunately, it might mean, oh, I can skim this one.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so wait a minute. So now about a process that that the News Access and Literacy Task Force is just beginning? Is that how you?
well, that's because Kathy was saying we should let
Yeah,
them know we're just
We're
starting.
at the opening stages, something to that effect. We're not asking them for a decision at this point, as Dixie said, we're keeping you informed, we're updating you.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
update, that's a good word. We're updating.
Yeah.
This is to keep you updated about a process that.
Yeah, 'cause-
Implies we've done a lot already. I don't know, just something.
Because the consensus, the idea of the consensus has come up, but just more in passing than anything else, during a board meeting.
okay, so the reason for this email is to update you. How about that? Instead of keep you informed.
Right,
Or just say, we are updating you.
right.
Okay, we are updating you. That's even better.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. The News Act is updating you. All right.
Sorry.
updating you regarding our first steps toward national concurrence. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, how's that sound?
Mhm.
Or
Toward-
possible, is it done deal that will be a national concurrence or pursuing or? Well, you're saying recommending, that'll, if you do recommending or a possible concurrence. I mean, could they say, no, we don't want to do that?
Yeah, they could say no, but I think we're not gonna, we're going. I mean, I don't think we're gonna go back. So how does that sound?
You don't want to include the recommending?
Okay.
First,
update
first
you
steps toward recommending national
Yes.
concurrence? I don't know.
Recommend,
I would do it, the first steps toward recommending
okay,
a national concurrence.
okay. Okay, how's that?
Good.
The next task us in the web is updating you regarding our first steps toward recommending national concurrence.
Is that the proper style you use for LWV and a space and then the WA?
You can do a dash too.
Well, and I'm just asking what style is, what's accepted.
We,
Well,
that, we do LWVCO.
Yeah,
yeah. How's that?
Yeah.
Updating you regarding our first steps toward recommending. Okay.
Oof.
Sound good?
Mhm.
Okay, and then here I say that we have studied this. It's not like we haven't studied it. And it is a problem. And then here it says that we were established based on citizens' right to know, but that doesn't do what the Washington position does. And then down here I said that the elements of the Washington position are broadly stated, so that it's a good position. It's a solid position that can be applied by any league and for a long time. And that's what you want.
Mhm.
And then these are I just pulled these out. These are the most recent pieces of legislation I could find. And I'll put something about that form in there. I have to look up the number and stuff. And then I just said, the end of it, I just got kind of I guess I got a little huffy, but I thought if you're so concerned, then we really need this position. This should be just as important as when we go out and advocate for the right to vote. So, what do you
I think
think?
it's great. I like the rest of, I think the letter is great.
Do you want to add, when you're talking about the legislation, this is all federal legislation. We did have the state legislation and I think 21 or 22, I can look it up really easily. On supporting local news. That didn't, and we could have used, these positions in our rationale for supporting. It would have made a stronger support, Anyway,
Mhm.
we could have used these positions to.
I can just go ahead and look it up.
Okay, and if you can't find it, I have it in my notes,
Was that a 22 or 21?
That's what I was trying to remember. Let's see if I can find it quickly. I want to, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't even.
21, let's see if I can pull it up.
Supporting local news or something like that.
Yeah, I just have so many things open here. Oh,
Okay, and then I'll put a question mark so I remember to fix it. Okay,
mhm.
all right, you guys, is that okay with everybody? Everybody good?
Suddenly on mine, supporting, let's see, what paragraphs is underlined in red.
Yeah.
There's three
because I
Ps.
spelled it,
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well,
what? Where is
I'm
that
gonna-
underlined in red? There you go.
Okay, I'm gonna change that, so it's not
There you go. That got fixed. Okay.
important.
Linda,
Mhm.
it's HB,
Uh-huh,
it was
uh-huh.
HB 22-1121, supporting local media.
Local media, okay, oh. hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's Colorado, right?
Yeah, that was a Colorado bill that was that died eventually.
HB,
HB House Bill 22-1121.
okay, and then I don't need the question mark.
No,
Okay,
supporting local media.
all right, how's that look, you guys?
On it.
Great.
Take the 20 out of the 2022, just HB 22.
Okay. Okay. Okay,
And put the 22 right up against the B.
okay.
You got it.
Perfect. That's why we have a team that knows how to do these things.
Because we've done it so many times.
And I never remember the numbers, so no matter how many times I look at it. Okay, you think it'll work? I mean, we
it
just
looks
need to keep them informed.
Yeah.
I is what the important thing is. So is this redundant down here? This last paragraph? Now has opened a dialogue in order to determine the best way forward to concurrence and will keep you updated.
Yeah,
We pretty
I
much
would leave
said that
that.
up there.
I
I'd
think it-
leave that. Yeah, because
I would leave it.
whatever
I
hurts
think-
at the end to remind them again, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I didn't want to go past one page because I feel like if somebody hands me 2 pages, I'm like, oh, really? You can get it in 1 page.
Yeah,
So,
No, definitely leave it. It's a good ending paragraph.
I think so too.
okay, okay, anything else, you guys? Okay, so I'll fix that and do you want to see this again or can I go ahead and just send it to Kathy and the rest of the board?
I'm
Send
okay
it.
sending.
And it,
And
Okay,
it-
okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so,
You have Beth on that list, right?
oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah, Beth is on everything I send anymore.
good.
Okay, so. What else did we have on here? Okay, we did that. Cindy's not here. Kay, you had a list of,
And I just want to keep it really short. It's just more just to keep you all informed what I did. And I can go through that real fast. Can you pull it up? Do you have the one I sent you or not? Or
I don't.
let me
it's
see if I
in-
can pull it up for you on my screen. Let me do some.
Okay,
Let me make this a little smaller so I can view other things.
okay,
Let's
let's see.
make this smaller. Get you back. Someone, oh, here, I can find it on mine and I can, oh, you can open it. No, not that one, not that one, this one.
I have the printed copy. I can hold it up.
Yeah.
I printed
Oh, I
everything
know
out.
it's in it, but I didn't know whether you wanted to see it at the
Everything
same
printed
time.
out. It's like
Here it
that.
is, and I'll just, if you share the screen with me, I can pull it up. I think.
Okay, let's see.
Let's see if I can do it. If I can get it off my desktop, let me open it up. Okay, it's
Do
coming.
I have, okay, it says one participant can share at a time, but I think you can share.
Yeah.
If you just hit share screen.
Okay, got it here. Okay, share. Okay, now is that, oh, please update your document to share it to a real time. Okay, I don't know what that is.
Did you click on the document before you hit share?
I thought I did, but maybe I did. Let me try
Or
that.
the screen, I
Let me
should say.
try that before I do that. Let me hit on the document. Okay, and then share. Okay, sorry. Share. Okay.
No, I wasn't clear. Did you hit on the screen with the document showing? It should be
Yes, I
one of your boxes.
I thought I did.
Okay.
Okay, let me see. Okay, here's on my screen. Okay, are you in to share with me or not yet? Share, no. Superintendent you selected will receive a hit me, send me a notification because it doesn't say I've gotten it yet. Okay.
What notification?
No, it says it won't do, I don't know why it won't do it. It won't do either a PDF or, okay, I won't go. Well, if you have it there, I'll just go over it real fast rather than, I don't know. I'm sorry, I should have done this ahead.
It should be doing.
I don't know why it isn't, yeah.
Yeah, no, it says multiple participants can share simultaneously and you only have one, so.
Yeah, and
Weird.
maybe it's how my document was done. I don't know whether it's,
No, it's
Yeah,
just,
it says all participants can share, so.
yeah, it's just Zoom being a pain in the butt.
okay, let me go down to another spot in Zoom and see whether share screen here. Okay, now does this working maybe? How about that? Can y'all see that?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, share there.
Aha!
Okay, maybe if I
There
read,
you go.
maybe if I read what it says, I could do it, right? Okay. All right, let me just move this up the screen a little bit. Just real fast, what I tried to do, I just took the suggestions y'all had. I went to the Clearinghouse to see what they had. So anything that was mentioned on Clearinghouse has a C beside it that had anything that I thought would be remotely connected to media, so to say. And then any national statements, and I do not know, and I said that in the statement to all of you, I am not as aware of what national has done, and I am aware of something, they talked twice about national, the internet and net, and then neutrality and digital. And then later they talked about something in democracy. I looked on their website, could not find anything. So I didn't know whether it was related to the national bill that was to do with net neutrality or what it was related to. But it said the national had something because people would refer to that. You can see on this page where it says New Mexico, they say something about net neutrality, and then they talk about universal high-speed internet and public access to media as something that they're working on. Let's see. Anyway, so that's where I put that. And then the only reason I put Observer Corps in, because I thought if this is a group that's trying to figure out how to use the community to help with media, that might be also a group to that we might in time contact. So what I did was go through every state and read every position, what their position papers were. And then I went into each of them and looked at if they'd either had a meeting about it or whether they'd had something to talk about these issues. So that's what this ends up being. And let me see if I can move this up a little bit. Let me see if I'm, okay, so you can see it all now. So these are the states, and I don't need to read them to you, but you can see they either have to do with internet, they have to do with, and then sometimes they broke it down into something so small as mis and disinformation. That may be the only topic they ever used out of anything. And others such as New Hampshire has a whole process for voter information, and it's very detailed. And then places like Oregon probably had the most on privacy and cybersecurity, and they took it from every different point of view. And it's a very, very lengthy process. And then I think the rest are kind of what they say. And then Washington's, which we know about. So those were so that we have this and however we might want to use it. So I just give it to you in that format. And if you think something we want to do in any other way. The only thing I did not add that might be of interest is the number of states that have some interest in civics education, and whether sometimes it's literacy from civics education, sometimes it's just using the word civics education, sometimes it means about student civic education, sometimes it means about adult civic education. But I thought that was just kind of throwing it out there really big. So anyway, that's kind of what I put together, and it may not even be helpful to us, but I thought as we go about beginning to look for other states that we might want to access, this might give us some connections to say, Connecticut, we know that you did some things on internet and media. What this whole process might help you if you want to think about helping with the concurrence or something.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Maine's not there, that it didn't show up in the clearinghouse.
No, Maine didn't, and it was interesting in the clearinghouse because there were not as many as I thought there would be. On the clearinghouse, when I'm trying to think, let me just run back real fast. There were literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on there. And Maine was not mentioned at all anywhere.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. But then when I looked at Maine specifically, let me see what I found for them. They refer to what is referred to often in the what is the state of democracy? Was that a national something put out?
No idea.
I don't know.
You know what? You were right. I left it off. Thank you. Maine is in there. It says they talk about Ethics and Disclosure and Freedom of Information Act. Those are the two they talk about. I will add that on there.
In the clearinghouse, does it have dates when these things were posted? Or
Yes,
when
it does. And the most recent one, though, is 2020.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
All right.
And that's the Oregon one with privacy and the cybersecurity.
Uh-huh.
If they started, the oldest one was in 7 and the newest one's 20. But it doesn't have anything in there about Maine. And do any of you know about, I read this statement somewhere from National about the digital equity piece. There was a league
No, yeah.
positions.
That is, we adopted it at the last convention, so it's a new position on digital equity. Digital equity, I think, right? Kathy,
Yes.
do you remember?
Yeah, and then
that from
And that's why I put it up at the very top, because there is, let me move this back up. There is why I put it up here, right over here when it talks about neutrality. And then I knew that position statement, but I couldn't find any more than the position statement itself. It did not have, more than a one pager.
Well, it wouldn't have any history because it's brand new. And
Okay.
the book is
Right.
the book just came out in April.
Okay.
So, that's
And
the most updated one, US position book.
And I think that I have from the last convention when they were campaigning, it was Connecticut and I think New Hampshire, New Mexico, Alabama and Tennessee, no, Georgia and Tennessee. I can't remember for
Well,
sure.
this is what I have, because I have that, what you're talking about. And this is what they say, that the original group that started was Connecticut, Georgia, New Mexico, New York, Tennessee, and Vermont. And then they went from there and they said additional leagues supporting the proposal would be Georgia, New Mexico, and New York. That's all that
Right.
and I will check and make sure to see if any of those have done any, if I've missed something and done any more than, since not all of those are on the list. For example, obviously Connecticut is and Georgia is. Let's see, New Mexico is. New York is not. And I don't see anything on Tennessee. Tennessee has about high-speed internet, and Vermont is not on the list that I did. So I will add Maine, and I'll look at Vermont and see what Vermont has. Some of them have such horrible websites. I hate to say it. It's, you really don't get a lot of information about what they're doing, but I'll be happy to look that up, and I'll add Maine.
Can I ask for a little clarification? I kind of lost the thread. All those states we were just listing, was that they're the ones that were initially backing the new position on digital equity? Was that it?
That's
Okay.
right. Mhm.
Okay.
It says they were members of the league to consider proposing a concurrence in June of 22.
Okay.
Mhm. Those were the original ones.
So I would like to say, Kay, I think this is a really useful piece of paper. Interestingly enough, not just for who's done something, but for how little is being done.
Yeah.
Because, and I think what it shows us is where our work should be in proving to people as we're talking to them, that this is a current issue and why it's an issue, because there are so many, it's like it's not here. I mean, what we're talking about is missing. And I think that's a key. It's the lack of that's as much important as the doing. So, because
And the part that they're doing is so narrow to me.
yeah,
You know, when you say like broadband, and when I went in and looked at their documents, everyone should have equal access to broadband, you know, and then that's like the, you know, and they don't even talk about any of the pieces of it in anything I looked at.
right.
You're exactly
So I
right.
think that can just help us craft our message to all the states and, well, to everybody in general, but specifically when we're talking leagues and state leagues that we might be talking to, that we really need to help them understand what this issue is and why it's important, and that it is becoming much more, that's where we show the legislation that's already coming out around this.
Mhm.
Like it lets us be at the front end of, it lets the league be at the front end of working with some things that are gonna, I think, quickly. I mean, I was telling Linda Hutchinson today that there were 3 articles in today's New York Times that all kind of related to this, I thought.
Huh.
And it was, you know, it was like, it's coming. I mean, it's coming really fast, but not many people are noticing it as well as we have done, I think, so.
And Dixie, what I would add to that is that otherwise we begin to be after the fact, like Linda, in the statement you wrote, we submitted this and this and we never heard a response, so to say. You know, we can't afford to be after the fact or after legislation has happened. We need to be proactive, and that's what I see all this about.
I agree.
Good point. Hey, Dixie, did you post those titles? Because I haven't
Did I
had a
do-
chance to look at
did I
the
do
New
what?
York Times, the titles of the New York Times
Um,
articles. Because I'd be interested in them.
One of them, let me minimize. I don't know how to minimize the screen, so I can go.
Maybe
to
I'll just check my email because I haven't gotten down to the New York.
Well,
Times
yeah. Well, and some of them weren't directly related. I just thought they were.
Okay.
And there was one I even pulled, I left up on my, I don't know how to make exit full screen. Ah, there we go. Okay. Whoops, still didn't go. Anyway, yeah, while we're looking, I'll go see if I can find some of them, but
Okay, that's okay. You don't have to worry about it because I have to get off. I have a state board meeting
okay,
in another hour.
yeah.
I will correct this one and we can figure out, it's more just so that we have it. It's not ready to go public knowledge or anything, you know, I just think it's helpful to us.
Thanks for all that
It
work.
is.
though.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it's almost time. We can skip the last item, I think, till next time, but do you guys want to set up some more meetings? While everybody's still here?
Let's do that.
Okay,
We need to discuss their long 130-page, and we didn't really do much of that.
yeah, I don't know if we need, well, anyway, can we stop sharing the screen? Kay, and
Sure,
then-
let me take it off. Yeah, let me okay, someone help me figure out how to get it off here. Go.
I think at the top it should say stop share.
I
Up
think
at
it's,
the very, is it red at the very top?
oh, yes, thank you. Stop sharing. I got it. Okay.
There we are.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you guys want to set some meetings? Let's see, okay. We want to meet with Washington. And we need to have another, but I think we're good to go. We could all meet, we're okay with what we've talked about. We could meet with Washington, you think? Are you
Yeah.
ready to meet with them?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we can share the ideas that Kay brought up, to contact and the items that we thought the questions we have about their position and the contacts, the potential contacts with other leagues. We can gently tell them that we were advised to start now instead of waiting.
Mhm.
What
And
else?
maybe ask them if they have people who have gone through the concurrence process. We have some, we can say, we have some, do they have some? And maybe we need to combine advice from all the people who've gone through a concurrence process.
Right, and I got an email someplace along the way where someone in their league had advised who to contact at National as a mentor through this process.
Yeah,
So we can tell them what we know about that, but I think we're good. I think we're ready
Yeah.
to meet with them. Okay, so we don't want to do that on the 4th of July.
okay.
What about I could ask them for the 11th and see, you want to give them 2 dates, like you want to stick with Tuesdays because that's what we're used to. And if they can't do a Tuesday, we could do something else then.
Mhm.
Is that how you want to propose it?
Well, I can tell you that I would have a problem on the 11th, but
And I will be gone then too.
yeah, don't
But
worry.
don't
about
hold it for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to go right now. So just send me what
Would you
all-
be available on the 25th, our regular time to meet?
I have nothing there, so this is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
What, why don't we say that?
Okay. Okay, so suggest July 25th.
Mhm.
Well, and remember, there's a time zone difference there
Right,
too.
I was gonna say that.
Right. Okay, so July 25th, we'll suggest, do we want to meet before that? Is there a reason to meet before that?
Mhm. I don't think so.
I think we need to talk with them and see what
Yeah, I do
their
too.
deal is.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
can tell you, I can meet on the 18th if you wanted to meet a week earlier. As
okay,
long, as
Can't,
long,
but that's fine. Go ahead. I don't want you to hold something. Try, but you better give them 2 days. So try both of them.
yeah,
You can tell them our preference is the 25th, but if not,
Yeah, I can't do the 18th, but there's
Okay,
always
then
people
don't-
that'll be there. The same way
don't worry
nobody
about that
can
one.
be.
That's actually a board meeting again for me, so at 6:30. So
18th is,
On the 25th or the 18th.
18th.
the 18th.
okay, so the 25th is the when I will star.
Yeah.
And the 25th or the 18th is maybe.
Oh, I did hear Dixie say you're not going to be here either,
Yeah,
Dixie.
Dixie's not gonna be there. So
The
that's not a good
18th.
day.
I can do the 25th, but not the 18th.
Okay, well, maybe we better say the 25th and. What do we have here?
The first,
Do you want to go that far?
Of August, you're talking?
Yeah,
That's not good for me. So,
What are we doing now? August what?
we're trying to give them 2 dates for them.
Oh,
how about a Wednesday or a Monday or something like that?
okay, well, if we're gonna do that, let's go back to July, so we don't have to wait till October. I mean, August.
Yeah. Well, what about, people look at the 24th and the 26th, and then maybe you can offer them 1 day that week,
Yeah, what about 24, 25, or 26th of July?
Right now, that's looking fine for me. And I am leaving. Yes.
Okay, bye Kathy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, talk to you all later. Have a good one.
Okay,
yeah, it looks like I can do either of any of those 24, 25, or 26. We're talking in the about this time, right? Late evening, late afternoon. Yeah.
What time will it be sincere? At least were they 2 hours difference or an hour?
they're just an hour, so.
An hour.
we-
Oh, yeah, we're mounting on time now. Yeah.
So, but you guys are good, like between 4:30 and 5:30, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll send an email and I'll copy people on that one too, okay?
Okay.
So are we good? Did we do everything you guys wanted to?
I think we did great.
Everybody happy? Everybody ready to get out of here and go outside?
Have a good evening, everybody.
Yeah, okay, you guys, I'll see you. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.